Okay, so welcome back to another edition of the Nerdcast. My name is Dan, and on today's episode, we have none other than Chelsea, the amazing Thompson. Say hello.
Should I put that on my name bar underneath? Should I change that?
I really need to start working on my introduction to it more.
Hi, everybody.
And on today's episode, we have Arsan with us as well.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
And Nick.
Hello.
So today we are going to be talking a little bit about Kefcon and some of the amazing things that are going to be happening here in Edmonton in the next little bit. But first off, I'd like to ask everybody how their week was. So we're going to start with Arsan. How was your week?
Oh, you put me on the spot. You mean the week?
It's right off the hop.
You mean
how was your last week?
How was last week?
Oh,
yeah.
last week. You mean did you mean Monday? Starting Monday? Well, basically the highlight of I'll just go to the weekend because that's when everything went down. The rest was just work and, the usual life. But this past weekend was Game-A-Lot. And if you're not familiar, Game-A-Lot is a board game convention. Well, it was just originally a board game event, but it grew too big and it became like a convention. So basically what it is it's a event put on by Mission Fun and Games, which is a board games retailer out of St. Albert. They put on this event. They've been putting it on for 16 years. And every year they host they have the people sign up and they host board games or whatever. And I've been going for the past 3 years. This is my third year or fourth year. I don't even know. But you go there, you play games, and you have a really good time. So that's what I spent my weekend doing, and it was fabulous.
That is a good way to spend a weekend, right there. So Nick, how was your week?
Well, let me tell you a couple of things. So I am designing a board game right now, and we had some real issues with our artist, and we have sourced out a new artist, and he's fantastic. He has been producing artwork at light speed, and this week brought some pretty cool stuff. He's still in concept stage, but it's fantastic, and I'm super excited for how that's going to turn out. And then to couple with what Arsan said, I went to Game-A-Lot. We played Terraforming Mars. It made my weekend.
I'm really interested to try that one.
It's fantastic.
It's okay. It's all right.
It's just all right. It's just all right. Awesome. So let me ask you, if you may, who is your artist that you have for your game?
Which, sorry?
Who's your artist for your game?
He is actually out of Brazil. His name is Robson Michel. And he is from Brazil, currently living in Ireland. Go figure. And he is traveling abroad. And we were able to find him through an online art sourcing community system. And he is just giving us pretty much exactly what we want. We looked for local artists, but it was really hard to find somebody who would be able to do it in the time frame and somebody who had our art style, and it wasn't working out. And we tried several different people, but each one of them couldn't meet the demand that we had, so I had to outsource it.
All right.
Sweet. Well, it's awesome you found somebody that is sort of getting exactly what you're looking for. That's always nice.
It is. It's pretty exciting. I got a really cool update today, and it just makes me giddy inside.
So Chelsea,
Mm-hmm.
let me ask you, how was your week?
My week was all right. Yeah, mostly just work. I was not able to join the first evening of the new campaign of Star Wars RPG, although I'm sure I will hear all about it. I'm
Yes.
still in the process of building my character to hopefully join the next game in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be lots of fun, and there's lots of potential for some cool stuff to happen. So I'm excited to join up. But yeah, no, other than that, a lot of work. Some chores, but mostly procrastinating chores. I had a pile of clean laundry at the foot of my bed for like a week that I folded after mostly it had been picked through and all the clean clothes had been already worn. That kind of stuff.
I congratulate
What about you, Dan?
I struggle with the same struggle.
Yeah, the pile of clean laundry with all the good intentions to fold it, and then when you go to fold it, you realize you've just worn all the clean clothes and they're all dirty again. You just have to wash them.
There was this video that was on Facebook there a while back, and it was just this guy, and he has this girlfriend there. He's just like, she was complaining about like the dishes not getting cleaned and all this other stuff, and he's like, just a second, this table, if you put it on this table, it just disappears. It's just like magic. And that's sort of what happens with my clothes. I put it beside my bed and it just disappears.
That's because you, sir, have an amazing wife.
I'm just telling you, it's like a black hole. I could put anything in there and it disappears. And it's washed. It's like folded and neatly put back into my drawer. It's amazing.
It's like magic.
It's like magic. I don't get it, but I love it. It's amazing.
Because Trina's awesome. Amazing.
Yeah, she is.
How's your week? What did you get up to?
My week was pretty fantastic. It was a little on the busy side. Oh my goodness. We had so many things just like going on all week. I had like absolutely no time to prepare for anything. Especially for the RPG on Friday, which I GM. So it turned out pretty good. We were super happy with the way it turned out. So it's pretty exciting. But I ended up working a 12-hour shift that day, so I just barely got home in time to play the RPG. So I pretty much came home, put on a new shirt, came downstairs, started this RPG. So yeah, it was.
How many people came out for the first round?
I think 8.
Nice.
We had 8. So yeah, it was pretty good. Good turnout.
What kind of RPG are you running?
We are running
Star Wars
RPG. It's been a lot of fun. We've been having a great time with it. We
were on one campaign for, what did we figure, 8 months?
Somewhere around there, roughly around.
And then that one just ended. We all blew ourselves up to take out the big baddie.
Yeah.
And now we're starting a new one.
Cool.
Except for a couple guys did survive.
I think I was one of them.
Yes, you may have. I can't remember. But there's one guy who's in particular, Ryan's character, which I'm pretty sure he's brought back again for this one as a kind of an old Ben Kenobi.
Well, Jitju survived, right?
Yeah, he did. And he lives for like a very long time, so I'm pretty sure it's still him.
It's just him incognito?
Yeah.
Awesome.
His name is now James.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same character. Just respect. So anyways, it's pretty fun. I think it's gonna be a great time. What else? Oh yeah, and then I had to work, so we ended up shutting it down pretty early that night because I had to work again the next day. So it was a little short-lived for that night. But because of it, the next day, I went to work. A friend of ours, Chelsea, you know him, Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew got married.
Yes, Andrew got married. So that was very exciting. I had to miss the wedding, which was sad, but I got to go for the fun part, which is the reception. So I mean, really, win-win. I like get off work, go straight to the reception, get fed, and there's dancing. It's like, oh, I can handle this. It's great. And so yeah, that was pretty much my weekend, anyways. I think I did something yesterday. Yeah, I played a bunch of video games, but whatever. I finally got to sit down for a bit.
Hey, who here saw the new trailer for the Nintendo Switch?
Ooh, yes.
The old school console for $60 is loaded with all the retro games. No, the Switch is the new handheld device. Yeah.
I'm not a Nintendo guy anymore. I jumped ship a long time ago, but I saw the trailer. It intrigued me.
It's making you want to go back.
No, we'll see. We'll see. It looked like somebody was playing Skyrim or something on it, but
that was Skyrim. It was
really on Nintendo.
It was actually Skyrim on Nintendo.
They have licensing deals with like everybody under the sun to play like everything on it. It's pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm very much I'm excited. I'm excited for this. Yeah, I'm excited for the Switch. I think it's gonna be awesome. I kind of backed away from Nintendo on this last generation. The Wii U just did not appeal to me in any way, shape, or form. But yes, I am very excited about this one. If you notice over here in this nice little corner, this is brand new. We can actually see our nice little chat that is happening. It's all Aaron right now.
Oh, yay, Aaron. Oh, thanks, Aaron. I'm glad I live too.
So, there we go. That's better.
So yeah, you can actually see if you do tune in to this live, you get your chat up here on the screen, just like that. It's like magic.
And we have to give a proper shout out. So Aaron is one of our longest time listeners and viewers, and he faithfully tunes in to watch live when we do this. So we always give a shout out to him whenever we can. Yay, Aaron!
Yay!
So yes, I'm very excited about the Nintendo Switch. I don't think it can come up fast enough. I think it's coming in April or something.
What about, have you guys seen the retro console that they launched that's going to be $60? It's preloaded with like 50 or 60 of their retro games that you just HDMI plug into your TV?
Yes, that thing is going to be cool.
See, Nintendo nostalgia makes me really interested in that one. I'm like, oh.
Well, that comes pre-packed with like 30 games, and it's really good games.
All old school games. Yeah.
So I've debated whether that has value for me. What happened was I got a Raspberry Pi and I put RetroPie on it, and I was playing some retro NES games with my kids with a USB by NES controller, and then I realized there's so many good games for the Super Nintendo I want to show them. And then I realized, but there's so many good games on the N64 I want to show them. And then once you've shown them N64, you can't go back. It was too hard to go back.
Yeah, you gotta stop there. You gotta stop before the N64, drag it back into the Super NES or Nintendo, that kind of era. That's fine. You can bounce back and forth between that. But as soon as you go to N64, you showed them 3D, right? You can't.
Oh, I know. I was all over then. And then they just couldn't go back. So for us, it's great because we remember. But for them, they're like, what is this?
Yeah, it's kind of hard for little kids to go back to playing little side scrollers and things like that, like 8-bit graphics.
Yeah.
So anyways, yes, we will be talking a little bit more about video game playing a little bit later in the show, because as you can see down here, there's Extra Life is going to be happening, and I'm raising money right now for Extra Life, which is all going to the Stollery, and that'll be happening on November 5th, but that'll be later. We'll talk about that later. But first, I want to talk a little bit more.
We're going to talk about board games.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Board games.
Yeah.
This is why we have you on. This is why you have that giant wall of board games that is making everybody so jealous.
I just had to move my computer camera so it went over there because that part is clean and then this side is not so organized.
Oh, the what happens like here is just like magic, because I have it just in this corner of this room back that way. It's a disaster. I have 2 small children in this house, and 2 small children just destroy everything. Especially this room.
Well, I'm not even lying. Like,
yeah.
Well, I've got you all beat because my webcam doesn't work and you can't see it.
That's the real reason why your webcam doesn't work, right?
Whoopsies.
Disaster is like underwear's hanging from the wall and yeah, my camera didn't work. No.
Yeah, whoops. Driver failure or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. So yes.
Well,
we're gonna
Arsan's collection.
Yes. So we're gonna talk a little bit about board games. So let me just ask you. We'll get into Kefcon a little bit later. I want to find out a little bit more about you guys and your experiences with board games as a general whole.
Yep. Where did your love of board games come from? Something I've said many times on this show. We love a good origin story. We love hearing how people got into the nerdy things they love. So, how were you first exposed to board games? What hooked you?
You're asking me? Oh.
Yeah, sure. Arsan,
Okay.
go first, and then we'll ask Nick.
Okay. Well, it started with there's a game called Cards Against Humanity. Everybody's heard of it, right? I went to a friend's house in Vancouver, and they had this like unremarkable black box sitting on the counter. I'm like, what is that? That looks lame. There's just a general idea, that preconception that board games were lame, right? Because, I knew about Monopoly and Risk and all that stuff. And I'm like, those aren't fun. Those are lame. So that was my idea of my preconception of this game. And then we played it, and it was hilarious. It was amazing. I was like, wow. I was very impressed with that. And then I was like, and that's a great social mechanism, a great thing for being social. And advance forward a little bit to me turning 30, right? And for my 30th birthday, I wanted to do something huge. I was like, I got to do something, because I was trying to have a big event around my birthday, and so I was like, I want it to be 30-30s. And what did people do in the 30s? They gambled, or they played dice or something like that. So I was like, for my birthday we'll play board games. But I had no board games. I had Cards Against Humanity, which time after time at parties or whatever, we would bust it out and people would have fun. And I was like, there must be other cool games. Like if Cards Against Humanity is fun, surely there's something else. And bam, like this whole new world, this whole this whole culture that I had no idea existed. I spent many hours watching YouTube videos and reading blogs and just listening to people talk about board games. And there's so many. So basically what I did was I took the games that, like, the essential games that you should own as a board gamer, because they're like they're games that are known to be fun. So for my birthday, I was like, yeah, we're gonna play board games. And I had like 3 tables set up, and I bought like just a couple of board games, like 5 board games, Dixit, Ticket to Ride, some other ones which were known as the staple board games you have to own, right? Then we had my birthday party, and we all played it, and people had fun. And it was at that moment I realized that just because you are into board games doesn't mean that you're friends. Even if you've been friends with these people for 10 years, 20 years, 5 years, whatever, they're not going to be into it. Like with board games, it's very interesting in the sense that either people are into it or they're not, right? So my friends humored me for my birthday because it was my birthday, and I'd be offended. No, I'm just kidding. But, but they humored me, and then I learned many lessons after that. But that's kind of what started it. And then, I was like, these are really fun. There's got to be more, right? So, there's the Dice Tower channel and all these channels on YouTube where I was watching and they're like, oh, you gotta try this game, right? And especially when you first start playing board games or when you first get into board games, there's like so many and you're like, where do I start? Well, you start at the beginning and then you're like, oh, they say this game's good. Okay, I'll buy that game. This game is good. Oh, I'll check that game out too. Oh, this game. I'll buy that. And when I first started buying board games, it was before there was like tabletop cafes in Edmonton. Well, it was only 3 years ago. So the tabletop cafe was just opening it was just opening, and the first 5 board games I bought were from Tabletop Cafe before they were even open. Fun fact, because at the time, Brian Flowers, who's the owner of Tabletop Cafe, advertised on Kijiji that he was selling board games, right? And he's like, and so I replied to you, the Kijiji ad, and I was like, I'd like to come check out your store. And he's like, yeah, you can come check it out. So I went there and I saw Tabletop Cafe before it was open, and I like bought a bunch of games from him, which were the games that I listed, right? And but yeah, before that time, you couldn't like just be like, oh, I'd like to try this game, but there's not 6 board game cafes or however many cafes there are in Edmonton. Now I've actually lost track after the one opened in Sherwood Park Beyond Board, and apparently there's another one that opened in the Duke, which is Game Connection or something. And
Game Collective.
And they're just popping up like mad. Like we have a huge community here. So, but anyways, I digress. That's kind of how I started, was from there, where it's like, oh, all the board games, buy everything. Oh, I'll buy 5 here, 4 there, blah, 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 blah. And then the shelves filled up and I had to slow down. So
you just need to buy more shelves.
I have to stop because I'm running out of room in this room for it. Otherwise, I'll start covering up my pictures, right? And then it'll just be a warehouse instead of a game room.
How about you, Nick? How'd you get hooked?
So that's a really interesting question. I think I've always had a love for games, and I've always had a love for the idea of, I guess, fixing games or making games. When we'd play games as a kid, there'd be that rule that just seemed it didn't make sense. Or why isn't this rule in there? And so we grew up on the farm, and my brothers, we'd play games and tweak it a bit and make house rules to make the game. Make the game better, in quotation marks. And what ended up happening was I was pretty big into video games as a teenager, and I really liked empire building, civilization development games, and I got onto this Anno. Anno 1602 was the first one, and then Anno 1503 was the sequel. They're very Euro style, exploring the new world and, exploiting resources to build your empire. And one day I'm walking through this computer store trying to buy a hard drive, and I see the board game Anno 1503. And I say, I beg your pardon? And all the graphics are the same as the video game. It's been ported onto board. So I'm like, I have to buy this. I don't even know what it is, but I'm buying it now. And I bring it home and I play it. And suddenly I realized what's happened. Like, I've never played a game, aside from, as Arsan said, I played Risk. I played Cranium. Oh, that was way out there compared to your standard Boggle and Scrabble. And then I played 1503, and I'm like, this is fantastic. If only you could sink opponents' ships, then it would be better. And suddenly, the floodgates open. And suddenly I realize I know the game I want to play, and I can see this game, and I make this game. And then I realize, if this game's out there, there's got to be other cool games. Just like Arsan said, there's just this awakening. And then I meet some friends who have some games, and kind of not like research, I'd play their games and say, oh my goodness, this game is fantastic. I need to own it now.
Yeah.
Purchase. Play the next one. Wow, this game is so good. I want to buy it now. And then I, unlike Arsan, have been more selective in my purchases. I haven't started warehousing
his
yet.
collection.
But that's how it all began. And what ended up happening is I kept seeing all these new games and then getting into the community. And what I realized is I have some cool ideas for games that don't exist yet. And why can't I make these games? And so that's how that ended up starting, is I started developing the ideas I had, and then I met Arsan, and then my life changed again to realize that I know nothing about board games because there's like 100 billion that I've never heard of, and he has all of them. And so, and he keeps introducing me to awesome games. And then we go to conventions around Canada, and he introduces me to the board game auction. And let me tell you, life redefined again. Because even if you don't know if it's a good game, you have to buy it for $4. And then you buy it and buys Legend of the Serpent Goddess. Maybe not a good purchase. Maybe it is. We'll find out one day. But I've scored some pretty awesome games this year at auctions, and I don't think I've hit a miss yet. I think they've all been positive. So that's kind of how it happened. Find a game, the awakening.
So as your love of board games has grown, we'll toss this out to both of you again. Maybe this time Nick can start. And you become more versed in the world of board games and more connoisseurs in the type of games that you like. What style of games or particular game mechanics do you find you like the most? Deck building games, strategy games, or resource games, cooperative games? Is there a style or a type of mechanic that you find yourself drawn to? The more you play, the more you get to know?
100%. So, and I've looked at that as a game designer point of view as well, to say, I have
what mechanics work well and what mechanics don't.
Right.
What happens if we mash these two mechanics together?
Yes. Also, though, what are my favorite mechanics, and can I design a game that has every one of my favorite mechanics in one game? And
challenge accepted.
Yes, and I've put the challenge on the shelf because I know what I want to do, but that's not going to happen right now. I'm going to build out a bunch of other games that have pieces of it, and then culminate into my best game. It's yet to come. But my favorite mechanics: empire building. So there is this term that we use is 4X. You have expansion, exploit, explore, exterminate. Something to that effect. And that not necessarily is my favorite, but the idea of building. Resource management. You produce things, and from your production, you have a payoff. It's not like this arbitrary, you get a card and you play a card. It's, I put in the effort and I've got a fantastic production set up, and what an epic turn I just pulled because of my awesome production.
Have you played do you enjoy Eclipse?
So I have been waiting to play Eclipse, and every time I find an occasion, I'm thwarted for some reason.
Oh,
I want to play Eclipse.
It was on hand.
Listening to you describe that, I'm like, oh, if he hasn't played it yet.
Oh, I will. Don't you worry, I will. So, and this isn't quite resource management exactly, but I love deduction. Deduction is so fun. And so Roll for the Galaxy, one of my favorites, 100%. You have this idea of everybody needs to do something, and you hedge your bets that that guy's going to do this thing. So I'm going to place my dice here and really hope that he does that. And you reveal your shields and dang it, I bet wrong. And he didn't do it.
Yeah.
Roll for the Galaxy. So,
Roll for the Galaxy is such a fun game. I really did enjoy playing that one. Yeah. I like being able to like have just dice and just
me too.
big mitt full of dice and just chuck them all. It's so satisfying.
Yes, I totally agree. So any games that have dice, I'm usually drawn to. But my final one is probably area control. So strategy all around. Strategy for sure. But management, area control, mixed in a bit of deduction. Oh my goodness, you're living the dream. So I would say that's That's it. And I've realized that most of the games that I like focus on one of those three elements or all.
Awesome.
Have you tried Cyclades?
No, but after I met Arsan, I decided to take his advice and start looking up some games, and that was the first board game review I have ever seen on YouTube out of random chance, and I was like, oh man, I want to play that game.
The
And
bidding,
Arsan
bidding on
has
the
that.
gods mechanic at the top of each turn is I really liked a lot. Added a whole other sort of layer to the general having to collect resources and the different strategy of how you can win the game. Because then there's some chance to it, right? And you have to base it off what you know. You can see who the other players are bidding for, and if you're going to be outbid, well, then you just want to abandon that god and try another one. And it's a really great layer to the game.
Yeah. Well, kind of on a different vein, too. One of my favorite games that I've ever played, and I have a hard time justifying, because I basically, my mantra is living on the other realm, but Terra Mystica is a game that has a random event at game setup, and the rest of the game, there is no randomness. There is no choice or anything that ever occurs for the rest of the game that is random. So it's like a hyper chess where you have all these decisions to make, and none of them have any random influence. And it's so impressive to see a game that's so fun, and you could play it for 2 or 3 hours flawlessly with no random.
Wow.
It's so impressive. Now, I'm a random guy. I love the randomness to have replayability, but this game executed it perfectly without needing any random.
That's awesome. So Arsan, how about you? What is some of the mechanics or some of the gameplay styles that you like?
Here's the thing about Nick, though. I played a few games with Nick, and any game you play with Nick ever, he's like, oh, it could be the most highest rated game on Board Game Geek, and he's still like, you know what this game could use?
You're talking
like, Nick, this is a perfect game. What? Like, you know, anyways, I digress. With board games, I'm like, I'm what they call an omni gamer. There's actually like terms for what your favorite type of mechanics are, right? And I just like all games, man. Like, I don't discriminate. I don't. I just like to play a good game. You know, like if a game is spectacular, I'll play it. Like I'm really not partial to any type of game. Like, I have all kinds of games, all the games that Nick listed, and all these other wacky games. I have a game called Lap Dance, which is about, there you go. Like, figure out what that means, and you know, because I heard it was a good game, or I read it was a good game, so I backed it. Like, I like all games. I guess if I had to sway towards one kind, it would probably be what they call a Euro game or a worker placement game, because when I play board games, I like to be mentally engaged. You know what I mean? Like, where I'm like, ugh. Like, you're just thinking of all these, like, there's just so much to do on the board, and I love that. I love having choices for what you do. I like that there's not just one path to victory. Like, if Nick takes my spot, which he usually does, then I have to think, okay, what else can I do, right? So I like games where there's multiple paths to victory. I also like a game where you can't tell, like, who's going to win. Like, you know, halfway into the game, you're like, oh, well, this guy's going to win. Well, GG, you know, I might as well go start a new game here or whatever. That doesn't happen often, but when it does, it sucks. And I have tried to avoid games where that can be possible. But I like how you do all this stuff on the board, and then at the end of the game, you count points and all this stuff, and then you see who comes up on top. I really enjoy that. A game that's notable for that is called Voyages of Marco Polo, which was the first game I introduced Nick to, and he loves it and he owns it.
I bought it immediately.
Yeah, he bought it immediately. So I'm not really partial to anything. I just love all games. If a game is fun, and if a game is, you know, if it has good production value or whatever, and then I'll play it. Like some people, this is just on the side, is some people have gaming groups, right? And gaming groups can be, they can lean towards a certain type of game, right? I don't like this complex game, which through my experiences and my conversations with all these different kinds of people, they're like, I really like this kind of game, but I can't buy them because I can't get people to play with it, play this game with me, right? And that sucks. That really does suck. So I'm fortunate enough with the people that I know who come play board games who would just kind of sit down on the table over there and they're like, hey, what are we playing today? Well, and then I pull out.
Bust out a new one, yeah.
Yeah, bust out a new one. And that's the problem, right? There's so many new exciting games where you're like, oh, we have to try this game. We have to try this game now. Meanwhile, there's still games unopened, which are in this queue, which is, it's too long.
Like Sick Ladies.
I've sold that actually because it was still in the plastic wrap. So that was one of the first games I got rid of.
See, Chelsea, look at this. He didn't even indulge in the Excel.
If you have a chance to stop by one of the board game cafes and try it out, do it. I enjoyed that game quite a bit.
I have the follow-up game to it, which is called Kemet. And, there's like a mini expansion where you can combine the components of the games, right? And I was like, again, going back to the ratings, like people preferred Kemet more than Sick Ladies. I'm not saying Sick Ladies is a bad game. Obviously, I never played it, but I was like, I've opened Kemet. I've actually played Kemet. Sick Ladies, after owning it for 3 years, I haven't played it.
Haven't opened it yet.
Yeah, so gone.
Oh, well.
Conserving space when your collection is that big is important.
But it just wouldn't have gone with that shelf, really.
It was.
From here, there's lots of gray on that shelf. Well, there's gray and green, some yellow. Sick Ladies, it's two. What color is the box?
It was like kind of gray.
Orgy, red yellow? No, maybe I'm misremembering.
So let me ask you guys, what are some of the games that you guys are currently playing at the moment?
Terraforming Mars. I played it once, and I'm going to be playing it again immediately.
Funny story.
Hey?
Funny story with that is like with organizing the Kefcon, that's one of the games we're hosting is Terraforming Mars because it's the hit game right now. It's like everybody's buying, everybody's talking about it. We're talking about it right now, right? And the way I organize Kefcon is I have friends or people I know and I assign them games that I think are hits or whatever, or else they have their own games that they want to host. And originally I had Terraforming Mars assigned to somebody who hasn't played it yet, so I still had to instruct it. I show Nick it and he plays it, and then I'm thinking it's like 12:30 last night, and I text Nick and I'm like, hey Nick, you want to teach it? And he's like, yes. I'm like, all right, fine. So he's going to teach it now. He played it one time and I've got him hooked. So.
Oh yes. Okay. So let me explain.
So you got to get a few more plays in before Kefcon here.
Well, let me explain. You know a game is great when you're dealt 4 cards and you have to pay to keep the ones you want, and you love all 4 so bad that you're willing to spend everything you have to keep these cards, and that happens every turn. So that's the caliber we're talking about. The cards are so good, you can't live without them, but you must. And so
it's a tough choice.
Another game that I'm playing currently, and this is a little shout out to Lamplight Games in Saskatoon.
Nice.
I was introduced to them at ToonCon this year, and I'm playing this game called Nautilus Industries. They kickstarted it, and it's a local company. And this game is a game about exploiting the bounties of the sea. So you're getting gems from the center where everyone has access to the different gem piles. And then once you've collected, you can sell the gems and they will give you a current market value in currency. But the more gems you sell, the value drops.
Because the market's flooded. Yeah.
But the kicker is, as you sell gems, the share value increases on a separate chart. And the share value is an endgame multiplier for points. And so you're highly encouraged to like push your gem type, but the more you're selling your gem type, the lower its value goes and it has to rebuild. And it's a really fun balance between what decision to make when, and the timing is really key. Just a fantastic game. And the production value, super high. I got the deluxe edition. Metal coins. Beautiful. Beautiful game.
Nice.
Yeah, that was the thing about Splendor when we played that one. The components of the game really make that game what it is. I love the chips in that game. But good components in a game are just so key. So let me just ask you, what are some of your favorite components in a game?
I think dice are something for me that I really enjoy. Custom dice.
Yes.
Standard dice or standard dice. Having custom tokens that are not out of cardboard makes a game experience so much better. Referring to Scythe, which I was introduced to earlier this year, the collector's edition, I believe, you get the wood, and it's literally this tiny log of wood, and the metal is an ingot. It's a literal ingot of metal. And just touching these components increases your fun level 100%. It's just so cool. And I don't know, another component for me is I do like miniatures. I don't have to have miniatures for a game to be good for me, but when the miniatures really fit, I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Tell me, Nick, have you ever played any HeroScape? Speaking of miniatures.
So back in the day, yes. And you know what I did? Oh, what is a drag? Do you know the old Dragon's Gate games? So they were these old school games where it was kind of a mini D&D session. This is way before I knew what D&D was anyways. You set up this three-dimensional like ruined city, and you have these little figs of the, you know, like the rat soldiers, and you've got the guys who are like the elf archers and warriors, and it was super cool. Hero's Quest, one time, long time ago. But Dragon's Gate, great games.
Yeah, I really got into HeroScape when it was out, and I'm looking at bins full of tiles right now.
It's still one of my favorites, and when I want to play it,
so good.
When I'm in town visiting Trina and Dan, that's where I go to get my HeroScape fix.
Sweet. We need to do this again. I got to get some more use out of that. It's been a while since I broke that out. So let me ask you guys, what are some of your suggestions for getting people, like other people, into board gaming? Like, I know a lot of people who just are not into board gaming at all. But I want to hear from you guys some of the suggestions that you guys have to get other people into this.
Well, and if there's one board game that's like the gateway drug to board gaming, what would it be for you guys?
You're up, Arsan.
Oh, God. Okay. But yeah, just with the last conversation there with favorite components.
Oh, yeah.
What's important for me, this is just quick, is table presence. Like, you know, especially because if you're at events, you play a game, and if it like looks just amazing on the board, oh man, you know, it's just fun to look at.
People
but
stop and
also,
watch. Yeah.
But also, like Scythe, when you set up Scythe, especially like the full board, people stop and they look and they admire the game. Like that's a unique experience. Like, this is a board game. Think about this. Like, this is a board game on a table, and people are looking at it like it's an art display or something. You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh, what's this?" You know, they stop and ask you, "Oh, what kind of game is this?" That's powerful. That's unique, right? But yeah, like miniatures. Like, look at this guy. This is from a game called Cthulhu Wars. And this game's not fooling around. You put this on you knock somebody out with this, right? But anyways, so going to introducing people to games are trying to get people into board games. Believe me, I know probably as much as anybody, the struggles and trials and tribulations of trying to get people to play board games with you, right? It's been a 3-year long battle, and it's a continuous thing. Some people are lucky because they've been doing it for so long that they already have a game group, but they also had their struggles, right? And like I said, at first I started with my first resource, which was my friends. Ask all my friends, post on Facebook. You know, it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 friends. Hey, everybody, who wants to play board games? Board game day comes, nobody shows up, right? And you know, your friends just don't, they're not into it. So what do? You turn to strangers. So
like Nick Fong.
Like Nick Fong, right? And so you just meet people, and that's what's awesome about board games. But we can talk about that later. But like, you know, you go to these events, you meet people, and then, you know, these people are like you. They're here because they enjoy it. They don't have any ulterior motive. They're not, you know, they're there because they enjoy the hobby. They paid $30 to walk through that door to sit at the table with you or whatever. And just along a line, you meet people. And that's what I love about board games is you can tell a lot about people by playing a game with them, right? You can make conversation or whatever, but that's like secondary to playing the game, right? So I've met all these people, and I've extended 100 invites to all these different people, and every now and then I'll get somebody to come over, and a new person, and then it's kind of selection process where if myself and this person don't mesh, or the people I already have who have come to play board games don't mesh with this person, then that person is kind of vetoed. You know what I mean? Gave him a chance, didn't fit, whatever. That's only happened once so far in my experience, but that was a very extreme example, right? But another way that I've done it is through people I've worked with. So the people who come, that's another resource, is people you work with, because you work with these people every day. You just keep talking about it like I did, because you have nothing else to talk about. You can talk about news or the latest Walking Dead episode, but I only go so far. So I just kept unrelentingly talking about board games, getting people excited about it, until eventually I hustled like one guy I used to work with to come play board games with me, then another guy. So it's funny because I used to work at Home Depot, and my play group, my main play group, are 3 different people who worked at Home Depot previously. None of us are employed there anymore, but they're my group. But yeah, just through events and conventions and stuff, I've met people, and we get them and then I know them, and we have fun playing games. Now, to answer your other question about what's a good game to get people into, well, do not start with a huge game, right? When I talked about board presence, don't start there. Don't.
Yeah, maybe skip Eclipse for now.
Yeah.
and push that off to the side for a bit. Hang on.
You don't come out guns blazing. You will scare them away. They will leave. You want to give them a good experience, because you're a dealer. You're trying to promote your hobby. You start them off slow, and then you go. You test their limits all the time, right? And that's the go-to is Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride is super easy to teach. It's just you draw cards, you place trains on the board. And there's some strategy in between that, but it's very light game. That game I pull out all the time. But the number one game I teach to everybody is Dixit, which is this game here.
Yeah, it's a very pretty game.
Dixit is the game that you hook people who are experienced with Cards Against Humanity, because Cards Against Humanity, you don't have to sell to anybody. Everybody knows Cards Against Humanity. So I'm like, oh, you played Cards Against Humanity? Okay. Then you'll know how to play this game. Because that's another important thing, is mechanics. Familiarizing yourself with mechanics. People know how to play Cards Against Humanity because it's a very simple idea. So then you start with board games that have that idea. Dixit is exactly the same way, right? Yeah. Same kind of idea. There's a judge. You guys know. And elaborating further on that is, once you start teaching people all these basic games that have these intro to these mechanics, card drafting, dice rolling, blah, blah, blah. Then you go up, you introduce them to the next game. And every time they show up to your house or to a board game cafe or whatever to play this new game with you, new to them, then you've succeeded. So you kind of just got to put the feelers out there where you introduce them to this game, and then you're like, okay, when do you want to play again? And then if they come again, then you're gone.
TNT.
Yeah. And then you've hooked them and you're like, woohoo, right?
So now the big burning question that all of our viewers and listeners want to know: how did you two meet, and how did Kefcon come about after your meeting?
There you go,
So-
Nick.
Okay, so I have to leave the how Kefcon came about to Arsan, and I actually think you should give a quick summary of that first because mine ties in after the fact.
Okay. So like I said, for my 31st birthday, how am I? Oh yeah, 31st birthday. I forgot how old I am. For my 31st birthday was a year ago. Like I said, I like to do stuff, right? So for my other previous 2 birthdays, I just had board game event. I just played board games at my house. But for my 31st birthday, I was like, I want to organize an event. I want to put on a convention. I was like, how hard could it be to get people to come? How could it be to organize an event? You just have a place. You have people that teach board games and people show up. Done. Right? Easy? No, it doesn't work. That's that easy. But that's later on. That's something else. But so that's kind of how I started. And because it was around my birthday weekend, it was perfect because I was like, oh, then my friends will have to come and they'll have to pay to come to my party because then I'll be and then extended beyond that, obviously, to including the public, right? And because public, that's your audience, right? So I have a nickname which is called Kef or Kefka, which is through Final Fantasy VI villain, which spawned through my Xbox Live username, which was Kefka Judas. So, but that's a really long conversation. Basically, eventually advanced to the age of social media where I used Kefka Judas as my screen name through all this, and everybody just referred to me as Kef or Kefka, right? So I was like, well, how could it work where how could I put that into an event? And I was inspired through people on Instagram who had board game events of their own where they just kind of named it after themselves. Example, the one that inspired me was this one called TimCon, like Tim Con, right? And there's a fellow in Saskatoon whose event is called MattCon or something. No, Regina. It's called MattCon, or it's his last name Con. And so I was like, well, that's easy, Kefcon, right? But before I even got to that phase, I had to, because I needed to have people to help me make this event. I didn't just do it myself. I have board members. Nick is one of the board members. I had to pitch the idea to it. So, we had a meeting and I told them, this is what I want to call it. And I said, it's going to be called Keeping Evenings Fun Convention because when do you play board games? Usually in the evening, it's rare you're playing in the evening, in the morning, but it's mostly done in the evening. So I was like, it's going to be called Keeping Evenings Fun Convention or Kefcon. And they all laughed and all that stuff. And, because it's a board and we're a nonprofit organization, we had to vote on it because it had to be legit. And they all were like, it needs to be called that. so it remained relevant. So that's how Kefcon started. And go ahead, Nick.
All right. So now on my side of the story, being a budding game designer, I'd just finished the Kickstarter and publishing and actually delivering, or actually I hadn't delivered yet. I had just finished the Kickstarter and it was in production of my first game. Thank you, Arsan. Aftermath, the beginning. And so what ended up happening was I was looking for ways to spread the word, and Arsan reached out to me and he said, Nicholas, I hear you're a game designer and I'm having an event called Kefcon. You should come to this event and we can actually set people up to play your game. And I'm like, whoa, golden opportunity. And I'm like, I can't believe I was approached by this big time game convention guy who could bring me in. And so I accepted, like, resoundingly. And what I ended up doing was I attended this event and it opened my eyes. This is the first board game convention I'd been to. And it opened my eyes to the world of conventions. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And Kefcon is the dream, right? And so now I'm like, I can't wait to go to all these other conventions and I'm going to like promote the game. And so that's how we met. But then what I realized after going to all these conventions, that Kefcon is the dream. Like, the formatting is everything that I've wanted, and going to all these other ones, they have cool things, but none of them have really, like, there's always something that, like, the scheduling might be weird, or the food production, the food program is just horrid, or like there's a restriction on what can be done, what can't be done, or just some little thing every time. And Kefcon did it right. And I can't explain this well enough to everyone. You have to come to Kefcon because it's so awesome. And is it perfect? I'm sure it's not perfect. But as a game designer, most especially, Kefcon is the perfect convention for helping to drive forward your brand and to meet awesome people. And there's such an environment there that I haven't found anywhere else. And the people that come, they're non-judgmental, they're very friendly, it's a community, and I just love it, love everything about it. And that's how we met, and since we met, we have decided to relationship a little bit, where now I'm on the board with Kefcon, and we have traveled around quite a bit, going to other conventions, seeing how we can make Kefcon better.
Awesome. So let me just ask you guys, because we're going to run out of time here in the next little bit. Where can people find Kefcon? Where can they sign up even for this event?
All right. So we have a website. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're Instagram, whatever. Our website is www.kefcon.ca. I don't know if I enter it here. Will it show? www.kefcon.ca.
There it is.
Yeah, there's a link there. So I don't know if that shows up on the screen, but kefcon.ca. And that basically has all the information. It has our schedule. It has, and then there's the registration. Registration is pretty simple. It'll take you to another website called warhorn.net. You could also just go to warhorn.net and search Kefcon, and then you'll see the schedule. You can see all the games. Right now we have 85 games listed, 80
Awesome.
games. And keep in mind, that's just from people from the people I've wrangled to teach games, right? And so you go in there, and it'll have all the information on there. So we try to touch all the gamuts, where the ends, where we have the super light games, for people who don't want to play Eclipse. We're not hosting it. It takes too long to play. But we have all these different types of games. So if somebody comes at pretty much at any time slot that we have, there's a game for you, right? If you're not experienced, you can play this game. Every game is being hosted by somebody who knows how to play the game. So you never have to worry about having to just learn the game and have to read the rules, right? We don't just put a game on a table and we're like, hey, go to town, have fun, right? No, every game has a teacher, somebody who knows how to play the game, and they'll teach it to you, right? Because I find that super, super effective, and it's very easy for new people to learn, because a lot of the people who come to our events, and I've learned this through our questionnaires, which we send out after the event, they love learning new games. Our Nicholas Fong owns a game, doesn't know how to play it, comes to our event, learns how to play it, decides if he wants to keep it or not, right? That's a common theme. So a lot of people we see come to Kefcon are gamers, right? Like, well, people who want to play these new exciting games, right? And that's kind of our mantra, is we try to have the most exciting games, this hot Kickstarter games, and we try to cover all of our bases. But yeah, warhorn.net, or kefcon.ca. We're also on Facebook. Look up Kefcon on Facebook, and there's an event page. You can see it all there.
Awesome.
Can I say a quick little plug?
Yep.
Do it. We love those.
Kefcon, 2nd edition, first board game auction in Edmonton. If you got games to sell, we got the place to do it. You want to pick up an exciting new game? Stop on by the auction. Pick it up for a sweet deal.
Awesome.
That was me snapping my fingers and pointing at the screen, but you couldn't see that.
we felt it. We felt it deep in our souls here.
Good.
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for coming on to the show tonight. Before we kind of close things off, I have some events that I'd like to talk about that are kind of coming up in the next little bit. First off, we have, like I said earlier, Edmonton Extra Life is happening on November 5th. Currently, I'm trying to raise money for the Stollery. So if you guys would like to donate to the Stollery, if you're listening out there, please do. You can go and visit the website at northernnerdnetwork.com, and there you will find all the links and everything else like that to go and donate. And that would help out a tremendous amount for the children. It's all for the kids, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And we are going to be doing a lot of live streaming that day for the event itself. And it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this, even though it's 24 hours of gaming, and see how tired I am after that. I think I have one day off in between here and now. So should be interesting. And that is happening on November 5th to 6th. And I keep saying, it's actually not 24 hours. It's actually 25 because of daylight savings.
Right.
So that should be interesting. Next up, it will be the very next day is Edmonton CollectorCon. And that is happening on November 6th. And that is happening there's an address. I have it all on the Northern Nerd Northern Nerd website.
Page.
Yeah, calendar. So you guys can go check that out. But yeah, that is happening. Dark Matters is happening on November 17th at the Tellus World of Science. And then we have Kefcon on November 18th.
All right.
Yeah. And so that is going to be a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Of course it's fun.
Fantastic. If you think you've had fun before, wait till you get there.
Yeah.
My
You don't even know fun. Like, take any conception you have of fun, throw it out the window, because until you've been to this event, you don't know fun.
Awesome. And then on November 26th, we have the Classic Video Game Championships. My goodness, November is going to be, it's just jam-packed of all sorts of awesome stuff happening. And that is it. That is all. Where can people find you guys on the web?
Yeah, like I said, kefcon.ca. I'm on Twitter, Kef Convention, Instagram, Facebook, Kefcon on Facebook.
Nick, where can people find you? And especially if they want to check out some of the games you're designing.
Yep, so fongomongogames.com, and you can check me out at fongomongo on Facebook. I am on Twitter, though I post on Twitter once a year, so that's not a good venue to keep up with me. But I respond to emails and or Facebook messages within the hour, usually. And I definitely would love to have anybody who's interested in seeing what a local Edmonton guy is making. I got some pretty cool stuff. Got some really interesting stuff coming down the pipe, too.
Yeah, awesome. I'm
Excellent.
looking forward to it. And we'll have you back on the show at some point to talk a little bit more about Fongo Mongo games and some of the stuff that you got coming up in the next little
Awesome.
while. That's it.
Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
It was great to have you on. Chatting about board games is always one of our favorites. So, thanks.
Yes.
You're very welcome, and I'll get my webcam working next time so you can actually see.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this edition of the Nerdcast. I want to thank Chelsea, Arsan, and Nick, and even Trina for producing this wonderful show that we enjoy here. And that's it. That's all. I want to thank everybody out there for watching or listening to this edition of the Nerdcast. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
See ya.
Bye.